Art of Commerce. This is the first installment. This is our first podcast video. Basically, we're developing a video series for merchants or for really anybody that's in the e-commerce ecosystem, and just making it fun, making kind of these video interviews for people that want to learn more about e-commerce and getting started with e-commerce. So our first guest is Richard. You guys might know him from his blog, A Better Lemonade Stand. It's one of the top blogs actually in the world about it, but I'm not going to talk too much more about it. Richard, why don't you tell us a little bit more about what you do, about ABLS, and kind of what brings you here?
Sure. So Better Lemonade Stand is probably one of the top e-commerce blogs. So we call ourselves an e-commerce incubator, and that's just our cute little way of differentiating ourselves in the marketplace. But really, it's because we're more than a blog. Like, we're trying to provide as many different types of resources as possible to help people build, launch, and grow their e-commerce business.
What kind of breakdown would you say is your readership between someone who doesn't have an online store yet but wants to have one versus those? Because it sounds like the resources that you're saying are for people that have stores. So what kind of breakdown do you have?
So actually, the majority of our resources and the majority of our writing goes towards helping people get started in e-commerce.
Okay.
So, and that really represents actually our market. So we do an annual survey every single year, and last year we were, I think it was about 80-20 in terms of 80% of people that were visiting a Better Lemonade Stand didn't have a store and were looking to get started. And this year when we did it, 1 year later, we're a little bit closer to a 60-40 split. So 60% don't have a store, 40% do. So we are moving a little bit kind of upstream. We are trying to move more towards people that do have stores and trying to provide more resources, information on things like getting traffic and conversion optimization and scaling. But right now the major focus is on helping people get started.
Okay, cool. So on that note of conversion rate optimization, getting more traffic, things like that, there's this term that's being thrown around these days a lot. It kind of maybe was coined by this guy called Sean Ellis, a few years ago, called growth hacking, right? Like the growth hacker. So things like you're saying about like conversion tips, traffic tips, things like that, optimization tips, that sounds like something a growth hacker might do. So, one of the segments that we want to start on the show is this, what's your favorite growth hack? And you can talk a little bit about that. So, you can check out this Instagram page that we have, one of our pages called Connect with Coach. You can check out the Instagram page, but basically we have 50 or so odd growth hack tips. So maybe just scroll through that,
Okay.
Take a look at the ones that we have, and maybe talk to one that kind of really pops out at you.
Okay, let's see.
Yeah, take your time. You can always pause and edit the video, but take as much time as you need.
So I've already found one right off the bat, but let me keep going through these here. Let me see if I can find another one.
Which one was the one that you found kind of already?
So I'm going to call it the very first one, actually. It's
Okay.
It's the very first one, or I guess the last one posted.
I'm going to take notes on it.
And that is, there's no marketing strategy without keyword research. So in particular, because the Better Lemonade Stand is primarily a blog, we're driven by content. Keyword strategy is, I can't stress how important it is for us. Everything we do revolves around our content strategy, which revolves around our keyword strategy. And that's what helps us bring in our traffic. So we do about 150,000 visitors per month right now. And we've grown, we don't do any sort of paid ads. We've experimented with in the past, but there's almost no point in us doing paid ads when we know that we can write an article that would attract 10 or 15,000 new visitors per month, every single month for the next at least a couple of years without blinking an eye.
And it stays there forever. Like an ad, you're kind of renting space, and
Right.
your ad's going to expire eventually, but your blog post, for example, will always be on your website, like for years and years.
And if you do your proper keyword strategy and you do your proper content strategy to follow that up with, that stuff can rank in Google for years.
So I think we kind of talked a lot about that. There's probably a lot of ideas, and we're passionate about it, so we're talking a lot. But if you had to say it again in like one or two sentences tops, why would you say keyword research is the most important? Because you picked it out of all the 50, you picked that one.
Right.
So in one or two sentences, why was that your choice?
Free money for years to come.
Free money, that sounds pretty good.
It's like I said, right? It can consistently bring you in traffic that can convert without you having to continuously optimize ads and pay for that space.
It's like a one and done. If you do it right, it's like a one and done thing.
Right, and like I said, For the most part, and you can always still use paid ads and stuff as well. At least you're diversifying your advertising channels instead of just going all in on Facebook ads or Google AdWords or something like that.
Cool. Okay, so the next segment we have basically is we're gonna pick 2 apps, right? So we have a list. This is from Shopify's App Store. Basically, these are, I don't know how to even count how many these are, but these are 18 of the top apps that they recommend that you should download for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So why don't you take a minute? Let's say you could only pick 2.
Okay.
If you could only pick 2, which 2 apps would you choose? So you can circle it from which one, and we'll talk. We can talk about why you picked those 2.
So we're talking about this from these are just apps that we want to install in our store, like everybody should install, or are we talking about for Black Friday, Cyber Monday?
Yeah, let's stick with Black Friday, Cyber Monday.
Now keep in mind, not all these I know exactly what they are.
That's fine. There's a bit of a description at the bottom, so maybe you can talk, if you can go by the description.
I feel like you're leading me in a direction.
No, not necessarily. I'll tell you why I'm asking.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll tell you why we're asking, and then maybe you can pick a third. So Raghav and I basically were in agreement that Rich is going to pick these 3. I actually have them written down. Like, these are the 3 that we think that we're going to pick. So
I have to pick a third then.
So yeah, I just pick a third.
Okay.
Let's just see how many we got right out of the 3, if not all.
Okay. It's tough because, like, again, some of these I just don't know what they are, and I'm going on a very kind of limited description here. But I'm picking a third, but it's based on a personal reason. Okay.
All right, cool. Let's take a look. Okay, so these are the 3. FOMO, which is the social proof marketing app. There's the loyalty points app called Smile.io, so it's like loyalty points. And the third one is Shoelace, retargeting on autopilot. Okay, so we only got 1 out of 3 right. So we thought, so Shoelace number 1, we knew you were gonna pick Shoelace.
Okay.
Because we know that you have a relationship with those guys, and we all.
Sure, but beyond that,
But
it's
beyond
good
that,
to retarget your
it's
audience
good-
for Black Friday,
Exactly,
Cyber Monday.
Exactly, it's
Okay.
good. You need to retarget. I agree. The second one that we had was Push Al, just because we're big fans.
I
of
didn't even
Shish.
see that. You know what?
You know what? That's what I thought. Because top left, it was in the top left of the.
It's kind of like the first one. Your eyes almost immediately moved away.
And it's
from it.
black. That's why. Anyway, but I thought that would be one because Shashank's a buddy of ours, and shout out to Shashank. But that's his app, and so I thought that you were gonna pick that one.
I totally glazed over and skipped that one.
But you would have picked it.
Yeah. I know him as well, and
Okay, cool. The third one, I had no idea you were gonna pick Smile.io.
so I picked Smile because I have a personal relationship with them.
Okay, so there we had.
What did you guys choose then for me?
We were gonna pick. We had an upsells app, so either this one or this one. Basically, an upsell for Black Friday. So hey, if you buy 3, then get the 4th free. Oh, this one's fun. So basically, there's a lot of forums out there, right? You have Reddit, you have the Shopify forum, you have Facebook pages, you have all these places where people come together looking for advice on their store.
Mm-hmm.
I'm part of a lot of Facebook groups. You have one of the larger e-commerce entrepreneurs Facebook groups that you moderate as well. So you get a lot of people asking for help to review their stores and things like that. So you kind of know what we're talking about.
Yep.
You're also pretty active on Reddit. You know about people asking about stuff on Reddit. So basically, what I've done is I was on Reddit today looking at the Review My Shopify subreddit, and this was the top store that was on subreddit. Basically, it's called Freddy Brown's.
Okay.
They are, and we'll put it up on the video for the audience, but basically they sell bracelets. Apparently he just launched the store today, like we're talking today as we are filming this, and he's looking for feedback on his store. So I have 2 pages there. I have one page which is the home page, that's what you see when you log in, and that's the second page which is, not when you log in, sorry, when you visit the page, and that second page is basically the product page.
Okay.
So take a look. What feedback would you give Freddy Brown's? And actually, what we'll do is we'll transcribe this feedback and we'll put it up on the Reddit post as well. Cool.
So, a little hard to read here. Overall, I actually really like the branding, and
Yeah, I thought you'd like it.
I'm gonna say like I'm gonna give an extra shout out for that because it seems pretty apparent that this person is doing an AliExpress drop shipping type of business, and most of those people don't care enough to actually build some sort of eye-pleasing visual brand, right? A lot of them don't have any sort of logo. They don't, have any sort of color scheme, or if they do, it's some weird, funky colors that, you can tell that they had no idea what they were doing when they put it together. So, for me, I'm a big branding guy. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, like exactly. Like, for example, one thing that I caught my eye right away is the white backgrounds, the same aspect ratio for all pictures. Usually the AliExpress, they're having different pictures, they're different background images, the aspect ratios are all different.
Yeah, there are some images that are off here that have, different.
But they're still lightish backgrounds. It's not like,
Sure,
it's
I mean,
yeah.
Overall though, I think they should all be on white backgrounds. You should pick a style and you should go with that style. There's a lot of apps and stuff just to do that stuff automatically too. There's Pixie, one of my favorites.
I read that.
There's a Remove Background. They changed their name about a year ago. I can't remember what their new name is, but these apps just integrate with your store, and then you can just run your photos through them, and they have somebody else do them for you, and it's like $1 a photo, not even. It's like 30 cents or something, insanely cheap. Some other things I'm seeing here too is the price is in British pounds up here. It looks like there is the option to actually change the currency.
Yeah, I think it's a British store. Yeah.
But ideally, it would have looked at your IP address and automatically changed the pricing for you. And localization, that stuff's really important now.
Is there an app on Shopify for that?
There's a few apps. I don't recall what the names are, but there's a couple of them that do that. Other than that, I would actually say too that, again, I almost got to do the exchange rate in my head to do the conversion, but the bracelets almost look too cheap to me. And that to me almost brings down the brand. It's almost like I want them to charge me more. The brand looks good, right? There's a level of sophistication to it. But then when I look at the pricing, I'm like, oh, it's just cheap stuff from China AliExpress, right? If they were to charge, $29 or something like that for these bracelets, or $20 or something like that, to me the whole store would have a higher end feel to it. And there's a chance maybe they could sell more or sell less but make more money, or maybe there's a chance even that because of the perceived value that it's a higher end product that they may even just sell more at a higher price.
Yeah, and they can use that extra margin, let's say, to provide a better customer experience. So the extra price maybe send a handwritten thank you card. They could have more of a conversation over the phone with your customers just to say thank you. You can afford to kind of invest more time in that one customer too.
Totally. When you're charging, this is like £3, right? So what was that, like $4.50 or something like that, $5 Canadian? You don't really have much margin. They're buying the product for, 30 cents to $1 or something like that with shipping. You only have a couple bucks to play with. It doesn't really give you much. You got to really just be pushing massive amounts of volume, right? Someone like this that I think has a good eye for design and can build a decent brand. I think it's worth them actually, maybe once they get their, maybe this is their first store, I don't know, right? But once they maybe get their feet wet a little bit, do some Facebook ads, drive some traffic, get some conversions. This is the type of store, maybe the type of owner that I can see, like, he imports this stuff himself to a warehouse, and, he starts charging a much higher premium for the products, right? He charges $20-$30. And he uses his own fulfillment warehouse where it's getting fulfilled maybe from the US or something like that, where his biggest customer base is. But the brand is good, and I think he could be charging more.
What about the product page? Like, that's the homepage. What about the actual product page?
Yeah, now here, if he were to charge more, he's only really showing you, he's not. There's no real description of it for the most part. It's very much just features. What is the item type, bracelets?
Oh, so you mean like that's saying like like the sizzle sells the steak, right? So what's really special about this? Don't just tell me the basic specs, but like why should I be buying this?
Right, like for this product page, right? This is a Zodiac sign bracelet with stainless steel clasp, right? Tell a story. Why wearing this bracelet? That represents your Zodiac. What does that mean? What's that?
How can you relate this to the customer? What they want?
Right, and especially with something like a Zodiac sign, there's a lot you can actually write about there.
Yeah,
right.
That's true. Cool. Yeah. All right. So Freddie Brown, we got some good feedback from you. We're gonna transcribe this into an actual feedback and reply back to your Reddit post. Yeah, cool. Thanks for that, Richard. Okay, so again, with these really jagged, non-transitional transitions, the next thing that we're doing is, but I'm gonna ask feedback from you later. How can we make this a little bit more transitional? But okay, so the next section is basically a rapid fire multiple choice questionnaire.
Okay, I'm ready.
So I mean, not really rapid fire, but there's basically 3 questions.
Okay.
Right. Let's see if you can get more than two or more right.
What do I win?
That's a good question.
What's the prop?
It's a bidet.
Sold.
Alright, so if you get 2 out of 3 right, you will win a bidet. Alright.
Okay, not high stakes here.
I mean, it's something.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. I mean, I guess there's nothing.
I have to get 3 out of 3 right.
Alright, fine. 3 out of 3.
Alright.
Although I don't think these are not too easy.
Okay.
So let's make it 2 out of 3. I'd be surprised if we got 1 out of 3 right.
No, you're killing me.
Alright.
No respect.
Okay, cool. So question number 1. What percentage of Americans say that they prefer to shop online? A, 43%, B, 51%, C, 72%, or D, 68%. If you want to look at it, 'cause I'm just doing it, but you can see question number 1.
Oh boy.
So basically the question is, what percentage of Americans say that they prefer to shop online?
I'm gonna have to go with D, 68%.
No, that's wrong.
Sure.
It's 51%. I was surprised too. I thought it would
Okay,
be
best
higher.
2 out of 3 wins the prize.
Yeah, best 2 out of 3. Alright, second question. How much more, actually this is pretty tough. How much more do parents spend online versus non-parents? So basically, parents are spending more online than offline. Than non-parents, because I'm assuming they have less time to go out and shop in store, so they're doing it online. So or maybe they have more to buy because now they have kids to buy.
Right.
So keeping that in mind. A, 21%, B, 38%, C, 57%, or D, 61%.
Let me see.
How much more do parents spend online versus non-parents?
Yeah, I mean these are tough questions.
Yeah, these are not easy.
These are ones that I don't really know.
What do you think? Should we give like lifelines, like 50?
Call a friend.
Call a friend.
I'll call my mom. Mom.
Well, why don't you do 50-50? We'll do 50-50. How about that?
Wait, so how does that work?
So I'll take out half the wrong answers.
I only get 1 though.
You only get 1. Maybe if you're having a problem with the last one, I'll give you a different lifeline.
Okay, well, then give me a 50-50.
Alright,
But I'll take it.
cool. So it's going to be between. So I'm going to cancel out 21% and 57%. So it's either 38% or 61%.
It's 38%.
Are you sure? Is that your final
Well,
answer?
now you're making me second guess this, and this is not fair.
Alright, 38% or 61%?
I don't know, man. 68. No, I'm doing the 30.
38?
Yeah.
No, that's wrong. So
Oh, come on.
It's 61%. Hey, this is what the study said.
I want to see the reason.
I'll show you. I'll post it online as well. I'll show you. We'll add the source at the bottom of the video.
Okay, so if I get 1 out of 3, then I win the prize.
Alright, fine, but you don't get any lifelines. This one you might be able to do actually. This one's pretty simple. Okay. How many hours does the average person spend per week shopping online? So that doesn't mean that they're actually buying something, but how much time browsing, but just in the e-commerce kind of world. How many hours does the average person spend online per week shopping online? A, 2 hours, B, 4 hours, C, 5 hours, or D, 7 hours.
Let me see.
We love stickies here, by the way. Everything's sticky. I don't even use a notebook. Like I just add stickies on the pages. That's a really good trick. That way, you just use one journal forever because you never wrote on any of them.
This guy's pretty cheap.
Startup life.
This is tough. I mean, because there's not really much difference between 4 and 5 hours per week.
Maybe that's a hint.
I'm gonna say 5 hours.
You got it. It's 5 hours. Alright, so you notice how I didn't say, are you sure?
Yeah.
Alright, so 1 out of 3. Congrats. You
I'm
are
a
now-
winner. I don't feel like a winner.
You
I don't
won.
feel like a winner.
You won an Adif bidet. There we go. Here, let's slide it over. Cool. So this is your prize. At the end of the interview, we'll do an unboxing. So just put it away for now. But that's your prize.
If I get one more question right, if we have another question, do you come home and install it for me?
No, I'm not gonna do that. I used to do that. It's a long story. Okay. Cool. So we're done with that. Now, okay. This one is kind of my favorite section. So we here at Scout, like, we actually really love this book called Sun Tzu's Art of War. It's basically a book, I'm sure you've heard of it. It's written by a warrior philosopher like 6,000 years ago. We're taking basically one of the Sun Tzu says, and I'm going to read you what it is, and we'll put it up as well on the video. But basically, just tell us what you think, what that means to you, because you know the way that these things work is you're going to interpret it in so many ways. That's one of the This is like the Bible too, and the Quran, and all these different kind of philosophical texts. There's so many meanings to it. So what's the meaning to you? Okay, an experienced warrior first wins and then seeks battle. An inexperienced warrior first goes to battle and then seeks to win. So what does this mean to you? You can take your time to think about it.
No, I mean, the way I interpreted it, I mean, to me, it's very straightforward. I think the better thing would be for me to give you an example of maybe how we have at a barrel lemonade stand interpreted, I guess, that idea
I think I know where this is going.
into our marketing.
Yeah, okay.
So I think we kind of talked about before. I'm an SEO guy,
Exactly.
right? So before we write a piece that we really need to rank, that's important for us to rank, right? Maybe it's worth an extra 10,000 visitors per month, right? That's a potentially 10% increase or close to a 10% increase in our blog traffic. What we'll do is, I mean, we will do sometimes hours and hours of keyword research. And if the blog post is that important, sometimes we'll spend a couple of months, even longer. I mean, one post I can think of off the top of my head, we spent close to 6 months preparing to write it. And by that I mean we collected resources and quotes and just you know all the information we could before we actually started writing on the topic. And so for us, and a couple blog posts I have in mind particularly, we went into it knowing that we had already won, that we were going to rank #1 because we wrote something significantly better than what was currently out on the market when people search for those keyword terms. And so we went into this war, you know, we needed to get something to rank because it was important for us. It was a big win for us. And, you know, we won before we ever even hit the publish button. We knew that was going to be
So just to kind of play this analogy out a little bit more, in this analogy, who would you be going to battle against?
everybody else that's on the first page of Google, basically.
Got it. Yeah, okay, cool.
And you know what, even arguably a little bit of Google itself we were going to war with, right? In terms of
Right.
just
like their algorithms.
their algorithms, right? You have to play to them, but you know you can't play to them. So
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
that's our interpretation, I guess.
That's what I love about Sun Tzu is that all of the lessons, majority of them, are still relevant today in the business world. So yeah, thanks for that. That actually brings us to the end of the interview session. Thanks so much for coming by.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, let's hope that we're going to try to do this at least once a month with somebody new. Thanks, guys.